October 3, 2025. I was sitting in my cramped flat in Whitby, Yorkshire, nursing a lukewarm cup of tea, when the alert pinged on my laptop. The British Space Agency's Mars orbiter, Endeavour, had just sent back images of an object that had everyone scratching their heads. It was a comet, or at least that's what everyone thought. They called it Trinity Atlas, a name as grandiose as the mystery itself. I leaned closer to the screen. The images were grainy black and white shots taken from Mars orbit, showing a fuzzy, ghostly orb, glowing softly against the black void. No tal. No streaming debris. Just a glowing ball of light, like a shy candle refusing to be noticed. But here's the kicker. This thing had just skimmed past the sun, losing more than a tenth of its mass. Physics says it should be trailing a spectacular tail, a cosmic firework for the ages. Instead, it was behaving like my cousin Dave after a pint too many, completely missing the point. I'm Dr. James Carter, astrophysicist by training, amateur detective by nature. And this wasn't your average celestial oddity. Trinity Atlas was breaking every rule in the book. 10 documented anomalies, each one rarer than a sunny day in England, all wrapped up in one mysterious visitor. The odds of that happening naturally? Less than 1 in 10,000. And that's if you're feeling generous. The comet's journey had been a cosmic roller coaster. Approaching the sun at a blistering 58 kilometers per second, fast enough to circle Earth in 18 minutes, it was the largest interstellar visitor we'd ever tracked, about 3.5 miles across, roughly the width of my hometown's Main Street. And it had been spotted not by the usual suspects, the Hubble or the James Webb, but by Endeavour, a probe designed to photograph Mars. Talk about repurposing tech. What made it stranger was the timing. Trinity Atlas had casually swung past Mars, Venus, and Jupiter, each time perfectly placed for observation by various spacecraft, almost as if it was on a guided tour of the solar system's VIP lounges. But when it got closest to the sun, it played hide-and-seek with Earth's telescopes, slipping behind the solar glare just when it should have been brightest. I mean, who plans these things? The universe's worst party planner? Then there was the chemical oddity. Spectroscopic analysis showed more nickel than iron in the coma, like the comet had been dipped in spaceship-grade alloy rather than cosmic ice. And water? Barely a splash. Just 4% of its mass, making it more rock than snowball. I half expected it to start spouting technical jargon and asking for a cup of Earl Grey. The real showstopper came when the comet started ejecting material not away from the sun, as physics demands, but towards it. A sunward jet. Imagine blowing smoke directly into a fan, and the smoke stubbornly flying right back into your face. That's Trinity Atlas for you, defying solar winds like a rebellious teenager. Scientists debated and argued, tossing around theories like a pub quiz gone wrong. Some said it was just a trick of perspective, others blamed measurement errors. But piling up special conditions to explain each anomaly felt like stacking a Jenga tower in a hurricane. Something about this comet just didn't add up. And here I was, staring at those blurry images from Mars orbit, feeling like I'd stumbled onto a cosmic whodunit with no suspects and no motive. Was this comet really just a cosmic fluke? Or was it something else? Something designed, directed, alive in a way we hadn't imagined? Of course, I'm not saying it's an alien spaceship, yet, but the universe has a wicked sense of humor, and Trinity Atlas was its punchline. As I closed my laptop, a chill ran down my spine, because if this was just the beginning, then what came next might be even stranger. And somewhere, out there in the black, the next visitor was already on its way. November 5, 2025. I remember the day like it was yesterday, though the memory feels more like a scene from a sci-fi thriller than my usual Tuesday morning. The British Space Agency finally released the full set of images from Endeavour's Mars orbit camera. Grainy, monochrome shots of Trinity Atlas. A small, glowing orb surrounded by a faint halo. No tail, no debris trail. Just a fuzzy, silent sphere drifting through space like a lost balloon at a kid's birthday party. The press conference was packed, and the lead scientist, Dr. Olivia Bennett, looked every inch the part. Mid-30s, sharp cheekbones, fiery red hair pulled back into a loose bun, wearing a tailored navy blue dress that complemented her emerald eyes. Her silver bracelet caught the light as she gestured towards the slides, a subtle elegance that somehow made the room both tense and hopeful. She admitted it was a technical triumph, capturing images of an interstellar object so close, closer than Hubble or any Earth-based telescope had ever managed. But the triumph was bittersweet. The images showed a coma stretching thousands of kilometers, but no tail. Bennett's voice cracked slightly as she described how the comet should have been shedding billions of tons of material, forming a spectacular tail pushed away by the sun's radiation. Instead, it was like a shy debutante refusing to dance. I leaned back in my chair, trying to process the implications. The comet's trajectory alone was bizarre. It wasn't just passing through randomly. It was almost perfectly aligned with the ecliptic plane, the flat disk where all the planets orbit. But it was moving retrograde, orbiting opposite to the planets, like a cosmic rebel crashing the planetary party. The odds of that happening naturally? About 1 in 500. Not impossible, but suspiciously convenient. Then came the real eyebrow-raiser. Multiple observatories had caught Trinity Atlas shooting a jet of material sunward, against the solar wind, against physics as we understood it. Dr. Bennett showed diagrams illustrating this sunward jet, a thin stream of particles defying logic, like a fish swimming upstream in a river of fire. Couldn't help but smirk. If Trinity Atlas had a personality, it was that of a stubborn old bloke refusing to follow the rules. I half expected it to be wearing a tweed jacket and muttering about bloody kids these days. But the anomalies piled up. The comet's mass and speed put it in a class of its own, far larger and faster than previous interstellar visitors. It had swung past Mars, Venus, and Jupiter, each encounter perfectly timed for observation by orbiters, but always avoiding Earth's gaze at perihelion. It was like some cosmic magician performing tricks just out of sight. I caught myself wondering if Trinity Atlas was some kind of cosmic message in a bottle. And if so, who or what was the sender? Later that evening, I met with my colleague, Dr. Marcus Hall, a tall, lanky man with wire-rimmed glasses and a penchant for bow ties that made him look like a time-traveling professor. Over pints at the Black Swan pub, we dissected the data, tossing around theories like darts on a board. Maybe it's a naturally occurring anomaly, Marcus said, nursing his ale. A comet formed in a system with different chemical makeup, more nickel, less water. That could explain the odd composition. Sure, I replied. But what about the sunward jet? That one's a real curveball. No natural mechanism we know of can push material toward the sun against solar radiation. Marcus chuckled. Maybe it's just shy. It's trying to hide. I shook my head. Or maybe it's trying to tell us something. As the night wore on, the pub emptied. But our questions only grew louder. Trinity Atlas was no ordinary comet. It was a puzzle wrapped in cosmic dust, daring us to solve it. And somewhere in the back of my mind, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a much bigger story. One that might change everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe. December 1st, 2025. The chill in London was settling in, biting through my wool coat as I stepped out of the cramped lecture hall where I'd just finished presenting preliminary findings on Trinity Atlas to a skeptical audience of astrophysicists and space enthusiasts. The room was a blend of furrowed brows and polite nods. The kind of reception you get when you suggest the universe might be playing a practical joke, or worse, hiding a secret. That evening, I found myself wandering the dimly lit streets of Cambridge, the city's cobblestones slick with a recent drizzle. I needed a break from the numbers and probabilities, from endless debates about comet tails and chemical ratios. Instead, I let my mind drift back to Trinity Atlas, the comet that refused to behave. I remembered the image of Dr. Olivia Bennett, poised and commanding, her navy dress hugging her slender frame just enough to catch the eye without distracting from her authority. Her silver bracelet had caught the light during the presentation, a subtle shimmer that seemed almost symbolic, a small flash of clarity in the murky mystery. I could picture her slipping on a pair of sensible black heels afterward, the kind that click purposefully on marble floors, ready to face the next round of questions. Back in the lab, I was poring over the datasets when a new anomaly emerged. The comet's brightness surged near perihelion, not just a little but dramatically, faster than any comet ever recorded. and the color shifted, appearing bluer than the sun itself. Now, comets usually take on a reddish hue because of dust scattering red light, but blue? That was like expecting a pint of ale and getting a cocktail instead. I chuckled at the thought. Trinity Atlas was the cosmic equivalent of showing up to a black tie event in a neon tuxedo. Bold, unexpected, and impossible to ignore. The more I dug, the more the comet seemed less like a frozen snowball and more like a carefully crafted enigma. Its nickel-rich composition was reminiscent of industrial alloys, materials we use in spacecraft construction for their strength and heat resistance. The water content was barely a whisper, just 4%, more asteroid than comet. If I were to design an interstellar traveler, that's probably how I'd build it. Tough, resilient, and ready to withstand the long haul. Then there was the missing tail, the grand finale that never came. Physics said billions of tons of material had to be ejected during its solar flyby. Yet the telescopes showed nothing but a compact coma, a tiny halo of gas and dust with no impressive tail streaming behind. It was like watching a fireworks show where the sparkler fizzled out before the grand explosion. I leaned back, rubbing my tired eyes. Somewhere deep down, I wondered if we were missing something fundamental, a piece of the cosmic puzzle no one had thought to look for yet. That night, as the city's lights blurred through my rain-speckled window, I opened an email that made my heart skip. It was from an electrical engineer in Chile, a man named Daniel Vaughn. He wasn't writing to debate the science or question the data. Instead, he thanked me for making the mystery accessible, for reminding people that astrophysics isn't just about distant stars but about questions that touch our very existence. He mentioned his daughter, Sophie, 18, uncertain about her future, now dreaming of studying the stars because of Trinity Atlas. The thought warmed me more than any Christmas jumper ever could. Outside, the cold wind howled, whispering secrets through the ancient streets. Trinity Atlas was fading from view, speeding away from the sun at breakneck speed, its mysteries growing thicker with every mile. And as I closed my laptop, a single thought echoed in my mind. The universe was far stranger than I'd ever imagined, and I wasn't ready to stop looking. December 15th, 2025. I was back in my cluttered office at the University of York, the walls plastered with star maps and scribbled equations, the faint hum of the radiators barely cutting through the winter chill. Outside, the sun had long since dipped below the horizon, leaving the sky a deep velvet canvas speckled with distant pinpricks of light. I sat hunched over my desk, eyes glued to the latest data streaming from observatories around the world tracking Trinity Atlas as it raced away from the sun. It was strange, almost surreal, to think that something so small, just a few miles across, had upended so many of our assumptions about the cosmos. The comet's speed alone was staggering, hurtling through the solar system at nearly 130,000 miles per hour. At that rate, it could circle the Earth in less than 20 minutes. Yet despite this cosmic sprint, it left behind no debris, no tail, no trace of the billions of tons of material it supposedly shed during its closest approach to the sun. I rubbed my temples and glanced at the photographs from the Virtual Telescope project in Italy and the RN Naves Observatory in Spain. Both showed the same haunting image. A compact, fuzzy sphere wrapped in a delicate coma, with no tail stretching out behind it, no plume of dust or gas pushed away by solar radiation as physics demanded. It was like expecting a grand symphony and getting a single, sustained note instead. My phone buzzed, jolting me from the trance. It was a message from Olivia Bennett. The team here is prepping for one last observation window from Mars' orbit. Any thoughts on what we should look for? I smiled, fingers flying over the keyboard. Focus on the sunward jet. If that's still active, it might be our best clue. And see if there's any change in polarization patterns. The comet's light signature is unlike anything we've seen. Olivia's reply was almost immediate. Got it. We'll keep you posted. I leaned back and let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. The strange, stubborn comet was still keeping its secrets, teasing us with questions and defying answers. Later that evening, I found myself at a local gallery opening, a welcome distraction from the relentless astrophysical puzzles. The room was warm and filled with the soft murmur of cultured conversation. Among the crowd was Emily, a colleague and occasional partner in late-night coffee-fueled debates. She wore a deep emerald dress that shimmered under the gallery lights, the fabric hugging her curves with effortless grace. Her auburn hair cascaded over one shoulder, and a delicate silver necklace glinted at her throat, catching the light with every subtle movement. "Still chasing that comet, James?" she teased, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Like a bloodhound on a scent," I replied, grinning. "Trinity Atlas is the biggest cosmic headache since Halley's Comet decided to go on a diet." Emily laughed softly, a sound as smooth as velvet. "You know, sometimes the universe just likes messing with us. Keeps us humble." I nodded, feeling the weight of her words. Trinity Atlas was a reminder that no matter how much we thought we understood, the cosmos had a way of humbling even the brightest minds. As the night wore on, the gallery buzzed with art and ideas, but my mind remained tethered to that distant, enigmatic visitor hurtling into the darkness. The questions multiplied. Where had it come from? What was it made of? And most unsettling of all, what if it wasn't just a comet after all? The universe, it seemed, was holding its breath. And so was I. January 2nd, 2026. The new year dawned cold and gray over the sleepy town of Bath, where I'd retreated to a small cottage overlooking the River Avon. The quiet was a stark contrast to the frenzy of the past months. Yet my mind was anything but calm. Trinity Atlas was slipping away from us, retreating toward the black void between the stars, its secrets packed tight within that ghostly, tailless orb. I sat by the window, nursing a strong cup of coffee, watching the mist curl over the water like a silver veil. My thoughts drifted back to the comet's chemical oddities, the nickel-rich composition, the shockingly low water content. It wasn't just unusual, it was revolutionary. Typical comets were icy snowballs, dripping water vapor and dust as they warmed. Trinity Atlas was more like a metal-clad messenger, forged in an alien forge, carrying a story we could barely begin to read. The latest spectroscopic data had arrived overnight. I opened the report with trembling fingers. The ratios of nickel to cyanide were off the charts, orders of magnitude higher than anything catalogued before. It was as if Trinity Atlas carried the fingerprints of industry rather than nature. I couldn't help but joke aloud. Well, if it's a spaceship, it's the shabbiest one I've ever seen. But beneath the humor was a gnawing unease. The comet's acceleration, non-gravitational forces pushing it away from the sun, suggested it was losing mass rapidly. Calculations estimated at least 13% of its total mass vanished during perihelion. 4 billion tons of material, and yet no tail, no debris field. Poof, gone. I reached for my phone and dialed Olivia Bennett. Her voice was warm but tired, the weight of months spent chasing shadows evident in her tone. "James, we're still seeing that sunward jet," she said. "It's persistent, stubborn, like it's alive." "Alive or not," I replied, "it's defying everything we know. Have you tried polarization measurements during the jet's activity?" "Yes, and the readings are unprecedented. Extreme negative polarization, nothing matches it. It's like the comet's surface is coated in something unnatural." We fell into a thoughtful silence. The data was piling up, each anomaly stacking like bricks in a wall too tall to ignore. Later that day, I met with Professor Helen Carr at a quiet cafe tucked away from the tourist throngs. Helen was a veteran planetary scientist, her silver-streaked hair pulled back into a bun, wearing a tailored charcoal blazer that gave her an air of quiet authority. Her piercing blue eyes held a spark of curiosity that matched my own. "James," she said over a sip of black tea, "this comet is rewriting the textbook. Either nature's pulled off the greatest trick in history, or we're missing something fundamental." I nodded. The timing, the composition, the trajectory, all too precise. It's almost as if Trinity Atlas had a purpose. Helen raised an eyebrow. "You mean intentional?" "Not necessarily a spacecraft," I said carefully, "but maybe something more than a random cosmic rock, something designed or at least directed." She smiled, a slow, knowing smile. "Well, if that's true, we're standing at the edge of a new frontier. But we must tread carefully. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence." As we left the cafe, a chill wind swept through the narrow streets. The comet was moving away, but the mystery was closing in. I glanced up at the pale winter sky, wondering if somewhere out there, Trinity Atlas was already whispering its secrets to the stars, and waiting for us to catch up. January 18, 2026. The early morning sun filtered weakly through the frost-covered windows of my study in Bath, casting pale shadows over stacks of research papers and telescope images strewn across the desk. Outside, the town was still wrapped in a sleepy calm, but inside, my mind raced faster than Trinity Atlas itself. I'd been digging into the comet's polarization data all night, trying to make sense of the extreme negative polarization signatures that had baffled every expert who'd laid eyes on them. The way the light scattered from its surface suggested particles unlike any natural cosmic dust. Oddly shaped, maybe even engineered. It was as if Trinity Atlas wore a cloak woven from secrets. As I sipped my now lukewarm coffee, my phone buzzed. A message from Olivia. New images from Endeavour just in. The sunward jet is pulsing, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. This thing might be trying to communicate. I frowned. Communicate? I wasn't sure whether to laugh or call the men in white coats. But then again, when you're staring into the unknown, sometimes the strangest ideas demand consideration. Later that afternoon, I met with Emily again. This time in a cozy bookshop cafe filled with the scent of old paper and fresh espresso. She had swapped her emerald dress for a soft gray sweater that hugged her slender frame, her auburn hair loosely tied back, strands escaping to frame her smiling face. So, she teased, still chasing the comet that won't behave? More like trying to decode a cosmic Morse code, I replied, grinning. The jet's pulsing, Emily, like it's sending a signal. Or maybe just showing off. She laughed, her fingers tracing the rim of her cup. You always did like a good mystery. Maybe Trinity Atlas is the universe's way of reminding us not to get too comfortable. Her words struck a chord. For months, we'd been caught between awe and frustration, peering into the abyss and finding questions instead of answers. The comet was a puzzle, a riddle wrapped in stardust and defiance. Back at the university that evening, I joined a video call with a group of international researchers. Faces from Tokyo, Paris, Cape Town, and New York flickered on the screen. Scientists united by curiosity, all wrestling with the same anomalies. We debated theories ranging from exotic natural phenomena to the provocative possibility of artificial origin. Dr. Ahmed from Cairo pointed out, the trajectory alone is statistically improbable. Entering the ecliptic plane retrograde, visiting key planetary observation points, then hiding from Earth's view at perihelion, it's almost too convenient. Coincidence or design? I added, either way, it demands our full attention. As the call ended, a chill settled over me. Trinity Atlas was no longer just a comet. It was a challenge, a call to rethink what we knew about interstellar visitors. That night, lying beneath a patchwork quilt, I stared up at the frost-laced windowpane. Somewhere out there, Trinity Atlas pulsed its strange rhythm, fleeing into the depths of space but leaving behind a trail of questions that might never be answered. And yet, I couldn't shake the feeling that the real story was just beginning. February 3, 2026. The biting wind whipped through the narrow lanes of Oxford as I made my way to the University Observatory, my breath visible in the cold air. Trinity Atlas was now a distant speck, racing away from the sun and Earth alike, but the world's largest telescopes were still trained on it, desperate for any last clues before it slipped beyond reach forever. Inside the observatory's warm control room, the atmosphere was tense yet electric. Dr. Olivia Bennett was there, her sharp features illuminated by the glow of multiple monitors. Her usual confident poise was tinged with exhaustion, but those emerald eyes still burned with fierce determination. She wore a fitted black sweater that contrasted beautifully with her fiery hair, and a delicate silver pendant rested just above her collarbone, a small reminder of the human beneath the scientist. James, she greeted me with a tired smile. We've captured something new. The polarization pattern is shifting, rapidly. It's as if Trinity Atlas is morphing before our eyes. I leaned over the keyboard, studying the latest data streams. The comet's light signature was no longer static. It pulsed and changed, like a living thing adapting to its environment. The sunward jet's rhythmic bursts had evolved into complex oscillations, patterns too regular to be natural noise. I half-joked, maybe it's trying to send us a cosmic mixtape. Olivia laughed softly, but the weight of the discovery hung between us. If Trinity Atlas was exhibiting properties of an active, perhaps even intelligent entity, what did that mean for everything we thought we knew? Later, as the night deepened, I joined a small gathering of colleagues in a nearby pub. The dimly lit room smelled of wood smoke and spilled ale, the chatter a comforting backdrop to our heated discussions. Professor Helen Carr raised her glass. To Trinity Atlas, the universe's most enigmatic visitor. May it keep us humble and curious. We clinked glasses, the sound echoing like a small beacon of hope and camaraderie. Emily arrived shortly after, her presence a breath of warmth in the cold night. She wore a deep burgundy coat over an elegant black dress, the subtle shimmer of a silver bracelet catching the candlelight. Her smile was steady, but I sensed the same restless questions swirling in her mind. Do you think it's possible? She asked quietly. That Trinity Atlas isn't just a comet, but something more? I met her gaze, the gravity of the question settling between us. I don't know, but I do know that we can't ignore the possibilities anymore. As the night wore on, laughter mingled with speculation, but the comet's mysteries lingered stubbornly in our thoughts. Outside, the stars glittered cold and distant, indifferent to our questions. And somewhere far beyond, Trinity Atlas pulsed on. An elusive enigma hurtling back into the cosmic ocean, carrying with it secrets that might forever remain just out of reach. March 1st, 2026. The early spring air was crisp as I stepped onto the grounds of the Royal Greenwich Observatory, the historic domes gleaming softly under a pale sun. Trinity Atlas was now about 270 million miles from Earth, roughly 700 times the distance to the Moon, but the world's most powerful telescopes still tracked its fading glow. This was our last real chance to peer into the heart of the mystery before it vanished forever into interstellar space. Inside the control room, the atmosphere was electric. Olivia Bennett was already there, her red hair pulled into a loose ponytail, strands escaping to frame her focused face. She wore a simple white blouse beneath a tailored gray blazer, the kind of outfit that balanced professionalism with understated elegance. A silver ring glinted on her finger as she gestured toward the latest data streams. James, she said, voice low but urgent. The brightness surge near perihelion was unlike anything we've seen, and now the light curve is showing rapid fluctuations, almost like a beacon flickering in Morse code. I raised my eyebrows. So the comet's not just pulsing anymore. It's sending us messages? Possibly, Olivia replied. The polarization shifts align with these brightness changes. It's as if something beneath the surface is actively modulating the coma. I glanced at the spectral analyses. The nickel-heavy composition remained, but now the ratios fluctuated subtly, suggesting dynamic processes at work. It was as if Trinity Atlas wasn't just a passive traveler, but a complex system responding to its environment, or maybe to us. Later that evening, Emily and I walked along the Thames, the city lights shimmering on the water like a scattering of stars. She wore a sleek black coat over a crimson dress, her silver necklace catching the glow of the street lamps. The cool breeze teased wisps of her auburn hair across her face. "Do you think we're ready for what this means?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. I hesitated. I'm not sure anyone is, but the universe doesn't wait for us to catch up. She smiled softly. It's thrilling and terrifying all at once. Back at the observatory, the team prepared for the final observation window before Trinity Atlas would slip beyond reach. As the countdown began, I felt a mix of excitement and melancholy. The end of this chapter, but possibly the dawn of something new. As the telescope focused on the distant traveler, the data streamed in, revealing patterns more intricate than anything we'd imagined. The comet's light flickered in enigmatic rhythms, its surface glowing with subtle shifts, almost like a heartbeat echoing across the void. And then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, Trinity Atlas began to fade, retreating into the darkness between stars, carrying its secrets away with it. But the questions remained, lingering in the minds of those who had glimpsed this cosmic enigma, waiting for the next visitor to arrive and the next mystery to unfold. April 10, 2026. The sun cast long shadows over the quaint streets of Winchester as I returned from a conference where Trinity Atlas had dominated every conversation. Scientists, journalists, and curious minds debated fiercely. Was it a natural anomaly or something far stranger? The consensus was nowhere near, but the fascination was unanimous. I settled into my favorite armchair by the window of my study, the fading light casting a warm glow over dog-eared notebooks filled with scribbles and calculations. The images from the last observation window still haunted me, Trinity Atlas's subtle flickers, the rhythmic pulses, the shifting polarization. It was as if the comet had whispered a secret in a language just beyond our understanding. I thought back to the odds, 10 anomalies, each rare on its own, all converging in this one enigmatic visitor. The trajectory aligning so precisely with the ecliptic plane, the sunward jet defying physics, the unusual chemical makeup, the missing tail despite massive mass loss. The probability of it all happening naturally was vanishingly small. But what if it wasn't natural? What if Trinity Atlas was a message, or a probe, or something deliberately designed to cross the gulf between stars? A knock at the door pulled me from my thoughts. It was Emily, her auburn hair catching the last light of day, wearing a soft blue cardigan over a flowing dress that hinted at a quiet elegance. She held a small package wrapped in brown paper. "I thought you might like this," she said, smiling softly. Inside was a collection of old astrophysics journals and papers, reminders of how far the field had come, and how little we truly understood. "Sometimes," she said, "the greatest discoveries come from asking the questions we're afraid to ask." I nodded, feeling the weight of her words. Trinity Atlas had forced us to confront our assumptions, to embrace uncertainty, and to stay curious. As night fell, I stepped outside, the sky a velvet tapestry dotted with stars. Somewhere out there, beyond our sight, Trinity Atlas was speeding into the unknown, a silent traveler carrying mysteries we might never fully unravel. But the universe was vast, ancient, and full of secrets. And I knew, without a doubt, that this was only the beginning. May 20th, 2026. The observatory's dome was silent, its great telescope stowed away after months of relentless tracking. Trinity Atlas had crossed the boundary of our solar system weeks ago, vanishing into the cosmic ocean, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and unsettled minds. I stood alone beneath the star-studded sky in a secluded meadow outside Cambridge, the cool night air carrying the scent of blooming hawthorn. The vastness above felt both humbling and exhilarating, a reminder of how small we were, yet how vast our curiosity. The data from Trinity Atlas, the 10 anomalies, the missing tail, the sunward jet, the nickel-rich composition, the strange polarization, the improbable trajectory, all danced through my thoughts like distant echoes. Each anomaly was a clue, a whisper from a visitor that defied expectations and challenged our understanding. Scientists argued, papers were written, theories proposed and discarded. But the truth remained elusive. Had we glimpsed a natural marvel, an interstellar comet like no other? Or had we encountered something far more profound? A crafted messenger? A cosmic enigma sent across the stars? The answer, I realized, was less important than the questions themselves. Because in the space between certainty and mystery, science thrives. As I looked up, a faint streak of light traced across the sky, a meteor burning bright, a brief visitor from the depths of space. Somewhere, out there, another object was making its way toward us, carrying its own secrets, its own story. And when it arrived, we would be ready. The universe was not done surprising us. The mystery of Trinity Atlas had ended for now. But the journey had only just begun.